Half-Life Alyx comes out very, very soon, so we want to review all of the Half-Life games before that comes out, so when I do review it, you know how I stand on all the Half-Life games. So let's just get into this. I'm gonna go through these by release date, starting with the original Half-Life back in 1998. Now the games that I'm including are the ones on the Half-Life series Wikipedia page. Whatever is stated here counts. So despite Black Mesa being made by Crowbar Collective but still released by Valve, so it doesn't count the same way that Opposing Force, which was published by Sierra, who also published the original Half-Life, doesn't count the same way. And we'll try and review these as quick as possible. Let's say 30 seconds or less. Alright, that's enough chit chat, let's get into it. Half-Life, one of the most important games ever made. It's infinitely memorable with its environments and characters. The pacing to the entire game is perfect. The gameplay mechanics are simple, solid, and timeless. The world and story building are almost done entirely through visuals. There's very little that is told to you as direct exposition. Of course, the ending, Zen, is a bit of a letdown, but that's only really retrospectively. I think if I played this back in 1998, I'd be very impressed, and I would still give it a 10. Half-Life Opposing Force. Gearbox went absolutely nuts with this. There was just an overflow of creativity in all directions. Gearbox knows that the player already understands how the world of Half-Life functions if they're playing this, so you just kind of jump in at an advanced level. The new weapons are awesome. I love the alien rocket launcher. New enemies are great additions. They're vicious and a lot scarier than the original Half-Life enemies, to be honest. And of course, seeing the other side of the combat as a soldier is super interesting, seeing all the jar heads run around and blowing doors down. And finally, the night vision is far, far better than the flashlight in the Gold Source engine. Good God, was that a good decision. 9. Half-Life Blue Shift. This one was a bit of a step backwards. There's very little creativity here, and not even over Opposing Force over the original Half-Life. You seriously could have had Gordon Freeman as this character, and it would change very, very little. The only thing that would change is you wouldn't be in an HEV suit instead of a blue uniform. Level design is a little frustrating at times as well. I'm just wondering why this was made. It feels more like a fan-made mod than something made by the people that made Opposing Force. Opposing Force was clearly made with a bunch of creativity in mind, so why is this one so void of it? Whatever. 6. HalfLife Source. I may have not been very vocal about it in my Black Mesa review, but I don't care much for HalfLife Source. It doesn't add much by porting it over to the Source engine. The lighting looks cool, but that's about it. My crowbar just somehow ends up in the uncanny valley looking like a cartoon and a real crowbar at the same time. And some fundamental parts of the physics don't even work. I can't pick up boxes and my grenades still act like they're on the moon, so what's the point of adding physics engine if they're not going to use the physics? 5. Half-Life II. This is quite possibly my favorite game ever made. The physics still work super well. It's very satisfying to be able to blow something up and see little bits of wood splintering in all directions. And these physics function better than most modern titles do. It's ridiculous how advanced the Havoc physics were. This time around, the visuals build the world even better than in the original Half-Life. The story is also better. The graphics held up to modern release standards for like a decade after the initial release. This improves on the original in almost every way. 10. Easy. Half-Life 2 Deathmatch. Holy shit. In all seriousness, Half-Life 2's weapons just don't translate well to multiplayer combat. The level design is okay, but not complementary enough to the weapons nor to the physics of the Source engine. I would never play this on my own time. I played it just to review this. 4 out of 10. Half-Life 2 Lost Coast. This is a tech demo. They made it in 2005 to show up some updated lighting engine pieces of the Source engine. It's fine. It does its job. It's basically just Valve turning HDR as high as it will go, and the bloom is ridiculous. Reflective surfaces blast your face with light, but it's free, so why not give it a go? It's there. It exists. 7. Half-Life Deathmatch. Holy shit. It's not even funny this time. There's no reason to play Half-Life Deathmatch Source unless you just want to be a bunch of Gordons fighting one another. There's little to nothing to say about this. It would get boring very quickly for anyone. This is also $10 for some reason. I don't know why. 2 out of 10. Half-Life 2 Episode 1. This was pretty good. Exploring the Citadel core feels cool. Alyx talks your ear off the whole time though. For Episode 1, you're stuck with her. There's not much new terrain, but there's good story moments. Forcing the use of less used weapons was interesting. The intensity is really high throughout, and I appreciated that. There's just not enough new ideas to say that this is one of the better pieces of Half-Life content. So, 7. Half-Life 2 Episode 2. This is more like it. The new environments are awesome. The overhauled lighting engine makes a pretty world even prettier. There's a greater sense of isolation here, which I really appreciated, being so far from the Citadel. There's new enemies as well. The Hunter was a very intimidating threat. The lore gets even deeper, and Alex actually shuts up a bit for this one. The puzzles were also a little more challenging in this. Overall, I think episode 2 was just less straightforward than episode 1, and I appreciate it very much for that. 9. And so that's my thoughts on all the Half-Life games. Half-Life Alyx comes out soon, so we'll see if it joins the ranks of Half-Life and Half-Life 2 as perfect games. Otherwise, maybe I invested poorly in my Rift S. Oh right, Half-Life Decay exists, but screw that. Forget it, we're done.